This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For May 10th, 2024, it's the best-sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, broadcasting live to tape from coast to coast, easternmost and westernmost, northernmost to southernmost, gate post to hitching post. I'm your local host who can boast the most milquetoast and utmost humility. I'm Chris Dexter. It's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure, and we are indeed here on a Friday afternoon.
Got back to normalcy.
Which means we somehow screwed this up. It did not seem like we were supposed to be doing this, but we are. So nuts with that. So, with that in mind, let's say hello to today's panel of AV SuperFriends. Today, I'm joined by a national quality consultant from Kansas City, Jamie Reinhardt.
Only national quality. State equality is not necessary.
It's not equality, it's quality.
Whatever.
Which is part of equality.
Well, I'm a consultant, so it's only an 80% right.
Don't have to be correct.
That's pretty high. That's really high.
Also joined by a dynamic implementation administrator from Corvallis, Oregon, Mark Kolozinski.
Guys, I need the reports. I need to know exactly what you did so I can make a higher up report for everybody else.
It's not very dynamic.
It's very dynamic. We got to go. Now, let's go.
Okay. Also joined by a future interactions manager from Greensboro, North Carolina, Larry Darling.
That's a future me problem.
Yep. No interaction.
And finally, our illustrious Vice President for Solutions Organization from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Justin Rexing.
It's almost like you weren't wanting to say that, Chris. It's almost like you were hesitant to give me a compliment.
So the joke of it is I go through and just kind of pull random bullcrap terms for these titles.
That one sounds real. That one actually sounds the most normal, real
But for you,
title.
I have to go back and make sure I've got Vice President in there, so I have to modify stuff. So
Senior, junior, Vice Provost.
I was going to do Junior Vice President, but I just, whatever. So
Junior Assistant.
Junior Assistant to the Vice President.
That sounds really real.
Well, sad thing is, there's probably people out there who have part of these titles in their titles.
If anybody listening has these titles, we're not making fun of you. We are making fun with you.
I would like to talk to a dynamic implementation administrator. I think that'd be a good guest.
Talking to him right now, Chris.
I was going to say, that is Mark.
It's Mark's job this week.
Anyway, we should go on LinkedIn and every week update
it. Oh, and do the thing where it alerts your entire network that you've got
and Justin will freaking get a CEO position next year. But you've been vice president of 17 companies.
Well, I had one last year.
You really have moved around a lot recently this year, but
and I've never changed jobs or cities yet. I've got 50,000 titles.
Joy of working remote. You just say your words.
You just make shit up.
That's right. All right. So on today's
Joys
show,
of working remote.
We're going to discuss the top 10 things to avoid in your next. We're going to discuss the top 10 things to avoid in your next AV project. And our craziest end-of-year project requests, because it's end of year and all the requests are coming in. But first...
Oh.
Wow, that was disappointing. All right.
Wow.
But first, it's time for the news.
Yeah.
Super excited about that news.
I feel like it's the Muppets every time we play that.
You just gotta see Justin every time, though. I'm always waiting.
I'm just good for sound effects. That's all I'm good for.
Well, the beauty of that track is that was not planned. You were singing over top of the jingle, and then I tapped that and made that.
When I'm in a good mood, I just go for it.
It's like Kermit the Frog here for the news.
That's right.
Hey, it's paying the bills.
Today's news article is functionally is 1080p is better than 4K, so shut up. But it comes from
that's loose definition.
Moving on. That's it.
Yes.
No, come on, that's what it said.
So link in the show notes comes from Sound and Video Contractor, and the actual title is Sports Leagues Are Shifting Away from 4K Broadcasting.
Oh, it was first brought up in broadcast, TV broadcast too, which is a subsidiary of this.
Yeah,
is it
wholly owned subsidiary group?
Isn't that what this is? Isn't this TV broadcast? They're talking about TV broadcast?
I'm sorry, broadcast engineering or whatever. Anyway,
this is where I found the story.
It was dual listed. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
It was cross-posted. But basically, the short version is the challenges necessary to get clean, high-quality, professional, production-grade 4K HDR broadcasts. When they look at the numbers of people who are actually watching and how they're watching on their phones, nobody cares, and 1080p is just fine.
You mean you didn't watch that movie as it was intended on your watch?
Yes, watch all my.
That's how the director intended for you to actually
on a what do you call it?
9 watch.
The camera recorded ones on my watch on an airplane over Wi-Fi.
I don't think I would be able to use my wrist.
That's what the writer had envisioned the entire time.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that they even put, and to be clear, they 1080p with HDR. And because 4K doesn't hit the high dynamic ranges in the broadcast capabilities, and they're like, everybody prefers the HDR content from the 1080p HDR would rather use their bandwidth for that image than use the bandwidth for the extra pixels, because you're not getting the HDR with that.
Because there's a visual difference there. I mean, 1080p HDR looks better.
It's good. Yeah. And when you get into the nuance of all the back end extra stuff, right? And we start talking. This is like soccer, and like there's a lot of soccer games.
This is global.
Really? Like it's huge, and you start thinking about what that means at scale, right? They can deliver it much more cost effectively by just adopting and staying with 1080p. I think everybody's wanted to have those goals. We're going to be all 4K by whenever today, and it just didn't happen.
It did, and then they're just compressing the shit out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just a matter of business, right? We can continue to scale and move forward with arguably just as good of quality, if not better, based on taste tests. So why bother?
I think it's going to be funny at Infocom, all the 8K displays that we're going to see. Like, okay, the industry's already kind of pulling back a little bit. Are they still going to push those as hard?
Yes.
Yeah, well, yes, they will, because the same
stuff.
reason.
And there you have it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
because you have to have new stuff. New is always better.
Video, direct distributed DC, right? Digital content for movie theaters, movie houses, that kind of thing. It should be, right?
Oh,
and they have a higher bandwidth, but ATSC3 hasn't really caught on and been able to push over the air 4K to everybody. So now you're down to cable companies who are too cheap to do any of it, and satellite companies and streaming companies. So I think you'll still see the displays, you'll still see the bullshit, but they're going to have to remarket to its local source stuff. But broadcast the things that are, even in Japan where they do broadcast a lot of 4K, they're pulling back too. And a lot of it's the backbone. It's engineers saying it's not worth the extra cost, and it's not even engineers. It's the bean counter saying it's not extra.
It's the business case, the whole business case of all of this. Like, arguably, they're having to invest a whole bunch more to something that is it giving you a better product. At this point, they're saying no, it's not. So why bother?
We're gonna distribute this over our high bandwidth satellite downlink, just so Spectrum can crunch it down to your coax cable with thousands of other channels. It's
they're still going to fill the same amount of pixels. They're just going to fill up with trash if they do it the other way. So
it's just trash. Just put some trash in there.
Yeah, it's just economics.
It's just nice to read an article from professional nerds that basically said the same thing that we newbies are saying.
Yeah.
Well, because it comes up from our side, in classrooms, like, oh, you need a 4K projector and display. No, we don't. This display does 4K. Don't care. It's a 1080. So, hell, I'd run it at 720 if I get it.
I always bring that up. I was like, where's the AI bot that automatically adjusts all the text based on like the handshake of the image? Like, where are we at on that? So that people can start having correct size shit in classrooms. And then, yes, I could start using 4K. It'd be wonderful. But as of right now, until that happens, and users aren't smart enough to do it on their own, so we need some AI to do it for us.
And then with regards to this article, the other thing that came up very briefly was, or mentioned very briefly, was they also have to provide a downscaled version of this for just general compatibility. So they're already producing the 1080p HDR feed. So like, we're already doing that. That's good enough. That's fine. Let's just do that and we'll save on the rest of it.
It's better than good enough. Good enough is 1080p. Throw me some HDR in there. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good enough is much lower than 1080p. Trust me. It's
Well, possibly. Yeah.
Have you done any production in like modern sports anytime recently? You've been around like a truck and dealt with like the fiasco of juggling this kind of stuff?
No, that sounds like your problem.
It is. And we want to believe that all the new trucks are capable of all this, but trust me, the affordable ones are not, and they are far from it. And so
You
You
said
guys
to
didn't buy a
deal
new
with
truck
it.
again this year? What's wrong?
Exactly.
Affordable.
See?
too.
Those are still
Right.
the same
Relative.
trucks they've been rolling since the 90s.
Right. And they're going to wring out every drop out of those things that they can. And so when you start talking what's available to start covering in mass, trust me, the trucks that are out there available in your price point are not doing 4K.
No.
So come
That's
get
it.
it.
There we are.
There we go.
New
Done. All right.
broadcast
So
trucks.
we're going to take a quick break.
Clever.
Come back. We're going to talk about the top 10 things to not do in your next project, which is probably something
8K.
you're doing right now. 8K. That's number
8K is one of
7.
them.
I have no
Oh, that was a teaser.
I don't think it's
Sorry.
on there.
That's on the
My
list,
bad.
man.
That's a free bonus. Also,
it really?
don't do 8K.
It's kind
Is
of
that really on
list.
the list? I don't see it.
Well, let's take
We'll
a quick
make a new
break.
list.
We'll come
Yeah,
back.
so-
We'll find out. How about that? Are you looking to really improve your AV integration skills? On your next project, why not try independent amalgamated challenge cables? That's right, challenge cables. Why buy a standard cable and an adapter to put on 1, 2, or all 3 ends when you can use challenge cables? We've taken the most common connections you use on nearly every AV project and combined them into a single cable. HDMI to RJ45, XLR to IEC, and our super popular 5-pin captive screw Phoenix to composite video. Unlike our competitors, independent amalgamated challenge cables don't perform any of the conversions between protocols, so your signal stays just as it was when connected at the source. If you can integrate 6 of these cables in a single project and not get so angry you break something, we'll double your warranty. Independent amalgamated challenge cables. Good luck with that.
I've been using that IEC to XLR, and it's doing a bang-up job getting rid of all these old analog consoles.
Well, yeah, I find upgrading my DSPs a lot easier when you use that adapter.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, this one's broken too. Weird.
I mean, I've gotten rid of
This
some of
thing's
that new
about-
old stock
It's about
real
10,
fast.
It's about 10 years old. You know, these things just like to die on you at any random pop. There, see? Whoops.
You don't really need to use an adapter. You just cut the end off and throw it on 220.
Well, see,
Or you
I
buy an
can't do that
independent
because I'm
amalgamated
not
challenge cable.
certified to do that work. That would be an
Yeah.
electrician's job. I have to
Well, I'm
order
not
this
certified,
product to
but
be
I
able
can
to
still
do it
do
off
it.
the shelf. Yeah.
But for
Certifiable.
these end-of-life classrooms, this is a way of doing a planned replacement.
There you go.
Engineered obsolescence at its finest. Just buy that part number. Yeah.
All right. So a few weeks ago, we presented at Northwest MET, the Northwest Managers of Educational Technology, NWMET.org, I believe.
Yeah,
I'm probably sure
I got to
down. I think
attend
it was-
that. It was nice.
Mark was approved to attend that
At
conference.
high cost to your institution, you were able to attend.
Somehow he still billed for airfare. How that
Yeah,
worked.
it was amazing. how it worked.
And we presented a topic there called the top 10 things to avoid in your next AV project. And so we figured, you know, we enjoyed the conversation there, but not everyone is able to attend that. So we would record kind of a shorter version of that presentation and get it out there for everybody to hear. So these are just kind of our notes on things that we suggest you try to avoid doing on your next project to just make your life easier. So let's see. Looking at our description here, we pitched this as.
Read it out. Read it out there.
You want to read the whole description?
Read the whole thing.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we're doing it live.
Well, I didn't do that in the
LIVE
I made this up.
live?
Exclamation point.
Do you want? I don't even have that queued up. Hold on.
Come on.
Yeah.
LIVE exclamation point. There we go.
right.
Doesn't say yeah though. That's a different one.
Yeah.
All right. So the session description is: each new AV project is not only an opportunity to improve your learning spaces with increased usability, streamlined operations, and new technologies, but a chance to make all sorts of new, terrible, system-threatening mistakes. Join the AV SuperFriends, that's us, as we review our top 10 items you need to avoid doing in order to ensure your AV systems are supportable, scalable, and sustainable for the long term. We'll explain why each is a bad idea and what alternatives you should be using instead. We guarantee you're making at least one of these mistakes right now.
Now do it in a less announcer voice.
Yeah, I would like it to flow
Okay.
a little bit easier.
No.
Oh.
All right. So
Yes.
Diva.
Like I said, this was a version of, but slightly different based on feedback.
Oh, that's
of
right. We
people
did a
yelling at us.
clock. That now I understand why the clock's there now. Okay.
That's why the clock is there, Mark.
Gotcha. I caught up.
If you recall, by the way, we did this one Inside Baseball. We did this presentation there, and we set the clock incorrectly and screwed up our own math, and caused all sorts of problems. But we left no time for questions and ran over. So
you're welcome. We filled maximum content.
But we gave away tons
Yes,
of
we
money.
did.
We did. Yeah,
Yes,
we gave
we
away
did.
a lot of Northwest Met bucks.
And Larry hit several people in the head with a catch box.
That
Which
catch
was
box
awesome.
right there.
And he wasn't even in the session. He was just in there with a catch box.
Just randomly throwing it in the back
Playing
of the room.
dodgeball.
I did that in every session. Just
Yeah, they asked him to have to keep leaving sessions. All right. So, Mark, you've got the first one here. I'll get the timer going.
Yes.
All right, go for it.
Oh,
So yeah, my first one. If you listen to the show, you probably realize this is my default stance on a lot of this stuff. Is don't start with the giant all-in-wonder boxes. And you know what I'm talking about? The 3RU, the one that has every little capable thing that you're not going to use anyway, but you have it there because it's an easier SKU for you. Remember on your spreadsheet? Don't do that. Even if it is your standard, challenge yourself to make a different standard. The black
everything you
boxes,
want.
all that. It does, but does
not
it?
well.
Does it really do everything you want? Because
It does.
is this a part in your kit, Mark?
it is no longer a part in
No
my
longer
kit.
a part in
I
the
think
kit.
in yesteryear, it once was like the preeminent kit of choice, but we have kind of
Yes.
graduated and moved on from that, and so we're being a little more intentional. How many ins, how many outs? Build it. Spoiler: it's AV over IP based. I'm not saying you have to go that route for everything, but your standard should not involve this giant black box matrix switcher that you're then going to dumb down to make work for smaller things. Please don't do that. I'm not saying don't even use these things, but if you're using it, you better be needing 80 to 90% of every bit of its capability before you throw it in there. Because I think if not, you're not really saving anything.
No more than 56%.
And if you
And
did use
really-
80 to 90%, you probably over-designed your system.
Maybe. I mean, I'm trying to poo-poo these things. They had a place and time, and they were efficient. But even then, they were a bit of a wide brush to be painting with.
I think if you're using 80 to 90%, you're making some compromises. I mean, those amps that are in those things are small. The control systems are okay generally in those. But the DSPs, I mean, the DSPs in those things are all crap.
Don't worry, Justin.
not
doesn't
DSP.
need-
I'm going to
Yeah,
use that
DSP.
DSP. Yeah.
Justin doesn't need an
Yeah,
amp,
really,
so
yeah.
you can cut
How
that
many
off.
people?
It's fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
by show
He
of
doesn't
hands
do
here,
audio.
if you're driving, I want to see both your hands. How many people actually built based around that DSP and amplifier?
Oh,
And then how many of you raise your hands that you just
built?
bypass it all
Define-
around?
I
Define
have
build.
used
Yes.
the DSP.
I've used it too. We all
It's
have.
not a DSP. It's a
It's
mixer.
a mixer.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. They sold it as that, but
I
it's
love
not.
it when
There
they
is
say
there is
it's-
no DS or P happening in that.
we put
There's a
AC
little
on
P.
it for your stuff.
There's a
I
little
said,
bit of a P happening.
can I
But
use
again,
the USB too? Oh, we
No.
don't put USB
No.
on these.
No.
Then why did you do the rest of it? Well,
Yeah.
Well, I
Challenge
did,
yourself.
but-
Challenge yourself. And some may say, well, that seems like it's going back to the a la carte world. No, just be
Yes.
intentional. Use the stuff you need to use and build around that.
There's nothing wrong with a la carte.
Or,
Yeah.
I know you guys don't want me to say it, find a scalable kit of parts and
Oh.
use that.
Oh,
Jesus,
there it is.
That's HD base T.
and you're out of time.
That's what it means. Go for it. All right.
All righty. That's the first one. Number
Are
two.
we each having to fill up 3 minutes?
That's how it works,
That's
Justin.
how it works,
Son of
man.
a bitch.
That's
All
when you
right.
have to shut up, not that you have to fill it.
Okay.
All right,
All right. Let me restart this. Jamie, go.
go. This can be short. Do not
This seems
plan
long.
your entire system around the extension or longer run USB as your primary transport for audio, video, or whatever. Stop it. I had a consultant, an integrator call me the other day. They wanted to run an idea by me. It's like, hey, we're doing this thing for the athletics department, and we're going to put this thing in. And I go, well, we'll just say it was one of the rooms, maybe from a Logi company. And I said, well, how are they going to connect? Oh, well, just with the USB. There's no floor pathway or anything. I mean, how are you going to do this? Oh, well, we're just going to give them a USB
wireless
cable.
USB.
Yeah.
Better.
Well, how are you going to do that? Well, is this the one that provides power and everything? Yes. So you're 6 feet from it? Well, it can't be. The table's out in the middle of the room. You are paid a lot of money to know how to do this. We've also seen, we've seen it on...
I feel like they're paid to actually recommend that other product, to be honest.
You're like, good Lord, come on. The USB, we all need it. We just made fun of it because it wasn't on certain products. But you can't plan as that being your... Even if you're using the room's systems, you need to be very intentional because a lot of the USB extensions, a lot of the USB fiber cables, a lot of the... yes, there is wireless USB. You're hosed. And so try to keep it a normal signal flow and change it to USB at the very last minute.
Yep.
Am I
last
wrong?
mile.
No.
Nope. Yeah, and
quarter
somebody's
mile.
going to say, but Jamie, I got this IO Genie really nice 3.0 extender kit. It's only blah, 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 X thousand. It's got to be worth it to do it. Can I just use that? And the answer is no. You can't use that either.
Great.
Don't.
So you bought an $800 extension and you could have used a $50 cable and a $100 adapter. What? Yeah.
Or just
quit it.
change your
Just
product
stop it.
design.
Stop it.
I think a lot of people, they do that because they understand, well, it's going to be USB at the far end, and I understand how USB works. I plug it into my computer, it works. The problem is USB being a combination of software and hardware protocols, you have to get these higher level extenders and switchers and things to make it work the proper way, or just keep it as baseband, video, audio, whatever you're doing, and then, Justin, like you said, that last quarter inch, switch it.
And to manufacturers, quit designing systems based on that. Because for all the room systems, that's an issue.
But these are certified. Don't.
Certified.
For 6 feet away.
Certification and stick it
Certified
right
to be
up here.
repurchased next year.
For those looking for more information on the USB topic, we did a whole show about USB. We'll put the link in the show notes about that, and you can explore.
Oh, wait, I didn't say that. No, I
That
got to
was
put the link in the show
actually a
notes.
good
Yes.
I remember that show.
All right.
So I got to find that link to this one. You make
Hey,
me
do it
that
after
work.
your subject, your next. Go.
It's in the notes. Go ahead.
No, I got to do it now
No,
because
gosh
I got to
dang
make
it.
the note. So
Timing's
link
off.
to
You now get
USB
2 minutes and
show.
45
It's
seconds.
Just I didn't start the timer yet. Give me this.
This is all free time. This is that secret time you get at the end of the match.
Yeah, when we did that show was about a year ago, right?
Yeah, it was a good one.
Maybe. It was a good show.
That's
It
a
was all
year?
the pitfalls of USB and
With
where it
Joe
works and where it
Cornwall.
doesn't. Yeah,
We almost need to have an update.
Yeah.
it's almost time.
You want to bring him out
Version
of
2.
retirement just for that?
Sure.
Actually, that'd be a good show. We should do that. You heard it here, folks. That's what happens. Okay, is it me? All right. The number 3 thing. Oops, hold on. I got to start my timer. There we go. Start my timer. Okay. The number 3 thing to avoid in your next AV project is leaving all your settings on auto or default. This goes for your audio settings, your video settings, your resolution, EDID, HDCP, color space, audio channels, down mixing, whatever it is. Don't leave it on auto because it never works the way you think it will, and you will spend one of two things will happen. Either A, you'll spend a huge amount of time trying to track down one weird issue in your system to find out that somebody left something on auto somewhere and it did not negotiate appropriately, or you will completely commission, deploy, and be using that room, and then you go out on a public listserv or message board asking people why you're having so much trouble with these particular scenarios. There
These
will be some
MacBooks
jokers
just
like
are
us
nasty.
who immediately respond, it's probably your EDID settings or HDCP settings, whatever it may be. You can downplay that all you want, and then we will look for the follow-up message on the message boards a week later where you say, oh, we had the settings on auto. So yes,
Weird. We had to be intentional and put it in some intentional mode.
So
And
this
when
is
we
one of
said
those things, and
10 things
and
to
you'll hear
avoid,
people
right?
refer to, yes, this is 10 things. That's one. It's just one thing.
10 things
It's a
to
broad
avoid.
thing, but a lot of people will do this, and then they will throw in switchers with internal scalers or scaling transmitters and receivers because that will fix it. First of all, that's not how scalers work.
You know what fixes all my stuff is scan converters.
Oh, that's even
there
better.
you
Let's
go.
do
Even
that.
better.
I'm doing everything in CCAM. So, the official Avixa
fuckers.
approved method is like, well, get out your EDID truth tables and you write down all your resolution. That's fine if you're going to do that, but set everything to the lowest common
You don't
denominator.
post that truth table on your lectern so faculty
print
can
it
figure
out.
that all out.
So
Yeah.
yes,
Just so you
Yeah.
know.
And we all make mistakes.
but I would raise the question:
accidentally did
even
this.
if you're doing a retrofit system, why are you not intentionally identifying and setting up equipment so that your audio and video paths are deliberate all the way through, so you're not having to use scalers and scaling switchers and scan converters and all that weird stuff.
And that weird one, the guy, you're the one who's like, but my projector's 1610. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Don't do that. That's coming up.
Mine, I didn't even look at that option. It was just recently. I was like, I'm an idiot. And it ended up clicking over to HDCP 2.2. It screwed me. But it was months later. It took it that long to kick in somewhere. My God. So we all do it. So 10 things to avoid. This is one of them.
Yeah. And Jamie, that's a good point. Real quick, in the last 12 seconds we have, you mentioned that it took several months. Watch for software and firmware updates that will reset those settings back to default auto, whatever. And it's something that was working fine for 3 semesters is now broken. And yes, so go check all those settings again. There, look, I did 3 minutes. Okay. Back to Jamie.
Back
with
to
another
Jamie,
one.
Hot off the top.
With the weather.
With the weather. Jamie, what's it going to be like?
And the number 4 thing that you should avoid in your next AV project is consumerish garbage. That's technical.
It doesn't say garbage. It says stuff. We're more neutral.
It's the same thing.
I was trying to put a little flair on it. Thanks.
How would somebody know if they have consumerist garbage stuff, Jamie?
If you bought it at Best Buy.
If it was a Prime Day special.
There's your sign.
If it's maybe has a B and an H in its name, you're probably on the line.
Does monoprice count? Just out of curiosity.
I'm going to disagree with that last one there, Jamie.
B and H is a mix.
You're probably on the line.
You just got to be careful.
Yeah, you're probably on the line. It's the USB cameras. Some of these simple systems. We'll say one that resembles a bird that flies around in the middle of the night. The all-in-wonder camera bars, consumer displays, televisions, if you will, that you got on Black Friday, Prime Day, and you think, oh, this is going to be great, and then you find out that it has a web interface front end that is built around an antiquated Android system that your campus doesn't support, and some of those consumer
Flash.
You can't
Flash.
You can't bypass some of that, and so you're just stuck. You have a thing that you can't use, and I think that we all have corners you can cut and get consumer-like stuff. People buy Apple TVs all the time and use them in their rooms, and they have all of the necessary back end to do the management and keep them running, and maybe they have. But that is not where you should start. You really shouldn't. If you have to cut a corner later, then cut a corner, but be intentional about where you cut it. They give me crap all the time about buying consumerist crap from Monoprice. Okay, I cut a corner on purpose with something that I tested, and it kind of works, and I expect it to fail. But that's also not the primary use of the whole system.
That's at the core of the system itself.
So
It's not in your standards.
Yeah, so just don't base your entire design around your Black Friday special.
But what about this sweet little camera? No, I can't do that either. Usually if somebody sends you a link to an Amazon thing, it's probably your sign. You probably...
Or the 4,000 lumen micro projector. It fits in the size of your palm.
Fits in your hand.
It's 4,000 lumens. No, it's not, and no.
But it's cheaper, Jamie. Why not?
Yeah, this one's only $100. It's got to be good.
$150. Go ahead, get it, and throw it right in the trash.
It holds the trash bags down.
We tell them to go ahead and install it.
All right. The number 5 is Justin.
Oh, it's me?
This is you.
All right.
You weren't there when we did this originally, but today this is you.
Yeah, I was on the injured reserve list for this one. But we've talked about this quite a bit, and you've heard me talk about it a lot, is stop outsourcing your knowledge labor. So if you're complaining about consultants screwing you up and complaining about integrators screwing you over and your systems are hard to support because you don't have the programming and you don't understand the DSP internal configuration because you all didn't do it and you're having tickets all the time. These are all results of outsourcing your knowledge labor. If you're a single person working out of college and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? I'm only one person. Do it just in baby steps. Start teaching yourself design, do some PM, project management, programming, DSP work. Programming's really easy to self-learn on. Do something that you can, hold on to as far as some kind of knowledge labor that you're going to be able to, control the quality, which ends up being a better experience for your students and faculty. We're getting to a point that it's almost as important to insource, if you will, your physical labor as well. We've been having a lot of safety issues with, for instance, we used to hire out large items, like for instance, large screens. We'd have general contractors install those. Sometimes they would even fail if a GC installed them. So there's accountability issues with all of that you need to be aware of. So take some time to learn the things that you don't know to get better at it, to better your systems. And that's bringing all that knowledge labor in-house.
I'd say if you just landed somewhere, and maybe this is not your background, you're not a designer or whatever it is, but you've taken on this role, like just sketch out how you think it goes together. Put it on. I'm not saying open up CAD and jump in. On the back of a napkin, literally start drawing it out, because guess what? Now you have something to reference, and you can actually start building in it. And where you don't know what happens, start targeting those things as your goals. Learn more about that part. Learn more about this piece, and then start filling it all in. Like I
was dropped on that island by myself, and I had to follow around the integrator just to figure out what was going on, what they're doing, and learn some stuff from them, and just kind of develop from there. So
yeah, there's a whole other show about like integrators or not. Yeah. Most people probably don't need an integrator. They need high quality contractors.
They just need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I did want to point out as far as the knowledge labor is, if you keep that in-house, or at least are involved in it very intentionally, that has the added advantage of ensuring that there's some continuity between your systems. A lot of schools, and I'm at one right now, up until recently would, every time there was a new building, new whatever, that all goes out to bid. There's a new consultant hired, and you see a different flavor of system in each building as it goes along, which is not scalable or easily supportable and untenable long term. So,
and your faculty are upset because they don't know the interfaces as they go from room to room or building to building, and students get different experiences. It's all over the place.
Any flavor you want, just make it vanilla.
Yep.
Flavor it after the fact.
All right, let me reset this.
Larry needs a new timer.
Larry. Yeah. All right, number 6. Larry, go.
Okay. I was screaming about this a lot last year. I haven't seen it as much, so maybe it's not as pertinent now, but we'll see. So if you're designing around aspect ratios other than multiples of 16 by 9, so 16 by 9 or 32 by 9, stop it.
Like, what about 64?
Just stop.
Can I do 64?
Just stop it. If you really want to, but now you got the sightline, it's the same kind of thing. Like, design around the content that's most often there. Design so whether it's a projector or a display, it's consistent. Like 16 by 9 is the universal accepted display size. Just run with that. Don't try to, well, my projector is 16 by 10. So we mentioned scalars earlier. If you do 16 by 9 on that projector, you don't have to have a scalar in it. And for God's sake, think twice before you do 21 by 9. In a conference room, fine, whatever. Have your little C-suite 21 by 9 room. But if you do 21 by 9 in front of a classroom, you get more real estate, but it doesn't really do you much good because your height's the same and your sight lines are jacked. Students have to sit farther back, but because they don't have any more height, your back row doesn't go, so you're just eliminating seats. So, again, I haven't seen the push as much this past year, 6 months, as I did last year, but maybe at InfoComm we'll see it again, that 21 by 9 is going to be everywhere.
Well, they're going to try again. They'll try to convince you one more time. I mean, they got all that stuff sitting in the warehouse. They got to get rid of it.
But physics doesn't change. Like, at some point, your sight lines are still your sight lines.
Mm-hmm. And somebody will say, oh, but they're all on their own laptops anyway, so this is just as a courtesy. Stop it.
Yeah.
No, do the right thing for the right reasons. So use what's going to most make sense that people have out there at large.
Yeah.
And then Larry, you mentioned it there. You said physics doesn't
16 by 10 content I don't want to show.
So Larry, you said physics doesn't change, which is true, but most importantly, the height doesn't change.
Yes.
You can go wider, but you're not gaining any height, which determines your element size.
Yeah.
And when you go wider, your cone of view, there's that limits how close your students can sit.
Right.
Or how far.
How far.
Not if you curve
math,
it.
you all have them.
Well, true.
Just curve it.
Curved screen.
Just curve the room. Just make it round rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I like round rooms.
Yeah.
But I like round rooms with 1080p.
Mm-hmm. And they work. They work that way.
They're all just set to auto. Let it figure it out.
Auto, yep. Just scales it all for you.
All right. Number 7, Justin.
I'm
going to
back
set
at
this
it
for you.
here, yeah.
There you go.
I'm going to bash on some marketing here. So don't believe the hype. And what are we talking about? It's all the buzzwords that we all hear that it's taking over. And that's kind of the word that I want to latch on to here. It's taking over. So VR is not taking over classrooms. VR is a thing. You might have a set of goggles in your house and put them on and run around and run into walls and playing video games and those cool experiences. But it's not taking over learning environments.
21:9, is it taking over?
No, that's
8K.
not taking over. That's also not taking over learning environments.
How about 3D?
3D is that's long gone. Is that still around?
That's haptic seats.
VCRs are not taking
Haptic
over learning
seats,
environments,
yes.
along with 3D.
Rumble seats.
Rumble seats, AV over IP.
Spatial
You know,
audio.
maybe
Spatial audio. You're going to need that in every one of your classrooms. I don't even know how kids learned
Spatial
until that was the
audio
thing. Yep.
is sort of cool, I guess, but
No,
not
it's
really
not.
worth
Not
it.
in a teaching environment. It's not.
10G.
Not in a teaching environment.
10G networks.
10G
Now that is
networks.
cool.
Well, that's cool for 8K,
But it's everywhere,
maybe
right?
compressed,
Oh, yeah.
but
It's
it's
everywhere.
Designing around that.
It's the
no,
next big
It's
thing.
not. 10G islands and design some 10G island networks. Holograms. I don't think those exist yet. So stop believing this shit.
And yet every 6 months, someone
holograms.
announces that not only are there a company announcing hologram products because, hey, that's their marketing stuff, but somebody was like, we just installed 3 of them. They're not holograms, people.
In my
It's
business
Pepper's Ghost.
school. It's always in a business school
gonna
somewhere you've never
put-
heard of.
All of the classrooms on one system, everything's going into the IT closet. Don't do that either. You're gonna wish that you wish you would have quit your job if you did that.
Well, you did kind of quit your
Yeah,
job.
you
You did
could
that.
like fire yourself,
Outsourced it.
Hot
kind
desking.
of thing.
Is hot desking a thing?
Hot desking.
I'm designing
It is a thing.
this whole classroom is being designed around hot desking.
But hot desking is not a thing everywhere, and it's not taking over.
Students have to
Right.
schedule when they're going to
So
be here in this chair.
What you're saying is that everything that I read on the internet isn't necessarily.
It's a thing, but it's not necessarily going to be in your backyard anytime soon
especially not yours.
At all.
The internet's real.
whatsoever.
That's how we're getting to you. Trust me, it's real.
So you may have to support a hologram, I guess, or you may have to support one little widget out there.
Well, again, it's not a real hologram.
I know.
so.
I'm just saying.
When
But it's
when
not
you do your
taking
new
over.
when your new
It's not
law
taking
school
over.
when your new law school is built and every one of your 25 rooms in that building are all holograms, please come on the show. I'd like to talk
Call
to you.
us.
Yes. That'd be cool.
Real holograms, none of this BS mirrors and voodoo crap and whatever else you see out there.
Most of them now, they're just taking the rear panel off a standard monitor and they're just, the way it displays,
Yeah.
and then they have a box behind it and that fools the brain into thinking there's depth to it. That's how they're doing it.
So just be careful with marketing.
It's the next big
Do your
thing.
research. Whenever you hear it's taking over, it's the next big thing. It's probably not. So again, 1080p is here to stay for a while.
I'm shipping back all of my all-in-wonder boxes.
Yep.
All right, number
Chris.
what are you up to? Number 8.
8.
Number 8 is me, and there's only like 4 words here. So in your next AV project, do not design wireless content sharing, wireless content transport, let me say, as your primary transport. Because there's a lot of options out there for sending stuff wirelessly. Everyone likes to do, oh, look, I'll just bring up my phone and send this. Wait, nope. Step 1, I got to get on the right network. Nope, no, the other network. Okay, now I'm on that one. Step 2, all right, then I got to launch the app. No, not that app. It's the other app. Step 3, okay, let me enter the code. Oh, no, wait, I got to share
I'm not
screen.
the admin on this. I can't install it.
Okay, well, got a problem. There's an update. Hold on, let me get that. These are all the fun time hurdles that go through that puts, barriers between your students and your instructors and sharing their content. So I get it. Sharing wireless content is convenient and it is easier in certain environments. In a general classroom, it should not be the primary. Because the other thing is, how often have you had issues with general wireless connectivity, streaming, etc., where things need to buffer, there's a little bit of hitch, you reload, whatever. Well, I don't want to do that in a classroom environment. Why not just provide them with a cable or some sort of physical connector? So now there's people in the car stereos yelling right now. And Mark, you're one of them because I know
I'm yelling with you.
You are doing wireless content sharing as the secondary device in purpose-built room systems, and that's different.
But I think you're thinking about it wrong, though. I'm not pushing things through a tube in this kind of mentality.
Correct, but and this is a different sort of environment. This is not a standard teaching classroom sort of environment. This is one where you're going to stand up let's say a call and have other people join in and share their content throughout the call through the magic of the cloud.
Through the session.
Not through just like I'm going to fire this off at high bandwidth across the room because there's
I'm not doing this with an appliance. I don't have an appliance sitting somewhere on my wired network, which I'm then connecting to wireless and doing this. There's a lot of ways to go about that, and people have varying degrees of success, and that stuff works, but don't make it your core.
I think with the previous generation, like this idea of, I want to wirelessly plug in my laptop kind of thing and share that made sense. Now all the students we're dealing with are used to working either in the Google environment, the Microsoft environment. They're used to collaborating through a software ecosystem.
They're at the application layer here.
So there's no reason to go through this idea of this appliance takes your laptop and pushes the video out. Like we're not thinking about video anymore. We're thinking about the content.
Exactly.
And it's never the students, Larry. It's never these students. It's
true.
Always us old people.
Well, maybe we should adapt.
Got it.
The other thing and that I did want to bring up, and you mentioned it with the idea of these appliances and trouble with that, is if you have a dedicated appliance for your wireless sharing, and there's no shortage of them, and they're all fine, that's great. They're more difficult to record, more difficult to capture. You have to overbuild and make your systems even larger to accommodate that, where to Larry's point, kind of what Mark is describing, if you're focusing on just being able to display that same content field from another location because it's connected to the same session, oh, look, there's no problems with that, and it connects right to the rest of your stuff, and there's no giant hurdles to jump through. So,
Or you could just buy a consumer-grade display and connect right to that.
Oh, that works every time.
That'll work flawlessly.
For a day, till Android updates.
Yeah.
Or until their temporary session on the Wi-Fi gets booted off. So, yes. So there you go. Don't use wireless. And then someone's going to say, but what about wireless mics? That's not what we're talking about. You know it.
No.
You know it.
Number 9, Larry.
It's me again. Okay, my timer has started. So of the 10 things we're going to talk about, really 11 because we can't count, this is the one I've broken most often, but I try not to do it intentionally.
I did this today because I needed to.
Yeah. So when you design without allowing for future expansion and for things to happen that you need to increase the size of your network switch or add another mic to your audio system, or heaven forbid that you're not thinking about this, assisted listening out of your system, you got a problem. Always plan for expandability. Like you don't know when we're going to have another recording out of that system or bring another video source in because in 3 years they've decided to take learning tech down this new pathway.
But Larry, I thought NDI was going to solve all that for us. And we have to worry about it.
Well, you need network switches for that. So yeah, just make sure that when you're building this, you're leaving the headroom there. And as I said, I'm guilty of this all the time. Like, not all the time, but I regularly, 3 years down the road, say, oh, I've now filled up that network switch because I've had to add this piece to it.
It's interesting because you get to that point, like, where does it make sense to add capacity, right? For future looking capacity. And it's not everything. Not everything in your kit needs to be overbuilt, but there's certain strategic items like your network switch, your DSP, things like that, where it makes sense to be able to accommodate, and you're not seeing a huge price delta in making that decision up front.
Network switches is one where you do see a price delta.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, what does your common kit look like? Yeah.
All right, Larry, go ahead.
One thing I've ran into a lot lately is not planning for expansibility in my power. Yeah, I need 8 outlets. I get the 8 outlets.
Just plug another power strip into that power strip. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, there's no problems with that at all. That's the one that I've been burned.
Let me tell you, if you go to one of those websites I mentioned earlier, you can get the one with the 2 and 3 heads on the end of it. It's only one cable. It's legit.
It's fine.
They just split that. Doesn't generate any heat. So I will say, I admit I had to do this just today. We had to do this where I've now got a network switch that is 100% chock-a-block full. But this is also a retrofit, and we had to change out a piece of gear, and we're trying to make use of existing stuff. So it was not designed this way, and I think that's really what we're getting at is when you're designing from scratch, when you open up a blank page, or you get out your pencil CAD and you turn to a new piece of paper in your notebook, don't fill all your stuff up. Don't fill up your network switch, your DSP, your PDU, your network. What network switch? What else did we miss there? Your switcher, all that stuff. Don't
your all-in-wonder box.
Your all-in-wonders. Don't use every port on it on day one, because what happens in 6 months when they say, "Oh,
you
we need one of these"?
You have to buy a new all-in-wonder.
No, then you have an outboard
now you have two
switch.
all-in-wonders.
Now you're
switching into a switch.
Yeah. So
I would say this is probably the other bucket you're sitting down talking about here.
I'm very familiar with that bucket.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Alrighty, number 10 of our top 10 things.
We got there.
This is Mark. Go.
It is me. And this one is close to the heart, you all. And this is the one that we'll hear a lot more about. You're going to hear more about. This is room systems. And when I say room systems, I mean like the Capitol room, like the Teams rooms, the Zoom rooms, and all of that stuff. And being aware and thinking you're just going to drop that in the middle of your world and things are going to be all happy and play nice, they won't. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it won't be fun.
But the marketing says...
Yes, the marketing will tell you, you just do this. You just do it, and you just make it all go, and you drop it in, and and it goes, right? And here's our design, and you open up their designs, and it's like every awful USB extender and transport widget you've always had nightmares about. It's built around that. And for you who's like, oh, but QSys drops it right. Yes, it does. With a shitty page flip and all the other stuff, don't do that. In fact, tangent on UIs, if your UI is flipping to multiple pages and all kinds of other shit, focus on that before you go down the room system rabbit hole. Clean that up. Flatten that out.
Because I like the page flips for more sub-menus. That's my favorite.
Yeah, because trust me, faculty hate bouncing around pages and doing web surfing on your touch panel and doing all that stuff. That's not what they want to do. They don't want to move the camera. They don't want to do all that shit. That's not what they want to do. And so exploring the room systems is going to be that amplified by 1,000. It is not clean. It is terrible. I'm trying to be on the edge and make it, and I'm on the bleeding edge and my fingers are wrapped in bandages and gauze. It's painful. Yes, so beware. You'll hear lots of marketing. They do not fit cleanly in your traditional rooms. There's a place for them. It has not become the teaching and learning environment yet.
And
it will make your touch panel have more pop-ups than a porn site.
And
yes,
it works.
It is bad.
It works today, but we've seen multiple times over the last couple of years that it's an update from Zoom Rooms.
There was one was it this week or last week when they broke an entire brand's version of Teams Rooms was broken by a security update that broke. Was it content sharing something?
Yes, it made it blurry.
Everybody who had deployed this particular brand's, we won't say who, but Lenovo, and their Teams Rooms, there was a security update that broke the content sharing for every one of them.
Yeah,
yes.
and so I ran into the same. I started to design a product or a system around Zoom Rooms and a QSys, and the APIs were all there, and then Zoom said, nah, not today, and shut it all off a few years ago, and just recently said, oh, never mind, you can do it again. I was like, you just can't afford that. You can't afford to be jumping between the two. They just don't blend well, even though they say they do.
You can explore this, and by all means, you should. You will learn a lot about future kind of things that are coming your way in all things your tenant, Azure, Fabric, all that stuff. You're going to have a crash course in IT, which I think is very valuable. But then understanding how this fits in your normal spot, it's going to be challenging. And I'm not saying it will never work, but as of where it is right now, it is not as clean and neat and like perfect as the marketing would lead you to believe.
And the one thing we didn't really describe there in that 3 minutes, but all of the major manufacturers of choice, if you're an Extron, Crestron, QSys, AMX, whoever, they all have a partnered ecosystem version of a Teams room, Zoom room, whatever you want. Some of them you have Google Rooms. None of those fit within your existing workflow support. They all use different gear. It doesn't drop the same way into Fusion, GVE, Reflect, whatever you're using. It's got the same silkscreen logo on it from that same company that you buy from. But for all intents and purposes, it's a different company's stuff.
It's a different ecosystem.
If you're a Crestron campus and you're doing Zoom rooms, might as well buy Extron Zoom rooms for all the good it gets you. I mean, yes, it's the same touch panel, but you hit it with special firmware to do special things. Yeah. So it doesn't line up with your standard workflow and your support structure. So be aware of that.
It's a different software and firmware process.
It's going to challenge your operational culture. Trust me. What you think you do and what these things make you do are radically different. But I explore them, try them, learn some new things, welcome them, but don't be foolish to believe it's going to drop right in.
Or don't welcome them.
Well, if you're out there screaming that I do this all the time, by God, it works perfect, then call us. I want you to call us out because the five of us are going.
Well, if that's the case. Well, if that's the case, then that's all the rooms that you have, and that's what you're used to, then fine.
No, but I want to know. Call us.
I'm deploying them. Trust me. I am going down the road and putting them in places, but it doesn't fit clean in teaching and learning environment. And when I say clean, like what they advertise, you just do this, and that's everything. And no, it's not. No. To get the level of what faculty are used to having in a space, it will not just be this computer and this touch panel doing all those things. There's a lot of peripheral stuff that has to happen that'll be outside of your scope of work normally.
All right. So we were a little long on that one, so I'll keep this last one short. So our 11th.
I want to keep going on that one. I'm all fired up. No,
he's mad.
In our top 10 things, number 11 is, yes, we have trouble counting.
No cost.
Is don't simply put it on the network and plan to stand up a monster processor that runs all the rooms in your building down in an IDF on the first floor sort of thing. Every manufacturer will pitch this. It seems to come around every couple of years where this is the new thing. Oh, we can save you money. Just buy one of these giant things. Put it on the network. Core. Give it outside access, of course, because it has to talk to the cloud.
We'll manage it for you.
All of your stuff, and then you don't have to worry about it because in each room is actually a little bit cheaper because you don't need as much stuff in there. No, I don't know.
Virtualize it. Just virtualize it.
We've all gone through this. It goes in cycles. The room-wide or the building-wide systems that connect all the rooms, and they never work the way you really want them to. The concept of we want to share content, no, not going to happen. I think we're all willing, at least on this call anyway, we're all willing to pay more for reliability. Yes, I'm going to pay an extra $1,000, an extra $1,500, whatever per room to do this. But when that room drops offline, the one next door doesn't. When I have to reboot one or replace something, I don't inadvertently take down the entire floor. And yes, I understand there's someone right now yelling, well, we've got a design right now, and they've assured us that, yes, there are all sorts of things.
And blah, blah, and this and the other.
Thank you for mentioning. That's the first thing that come up is, oh, well, just buy a second giant processor and put next to that one, and when the first one goes, you have a failover. I'm not even going down that road.
And it's not just like when it fails. Like if you have to replace a piece in a classroom and you have to update firmware, you have to update firmware across the board.
Every one of those rooms.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's redundant.
2 a.m. at night, then maybe that fits your schedule.
Or 2 a.m. in the morning.
If you had a proper change management routine, you wouldn't have these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just showing how immature you all are.
Yes.
Now, is there a place where you can get, and I would say this, if you haven't done this yet, by all means, go ahead and try.
You have to do it once to learn.
We all do it once, and you should learn it. And I would say if you're going to do it, start small, maybe like 2 rooms. Just think about the wonders of 2 rooms living on one processor.
Dude,
like,
if you're going to do it, you just dive in and do the whole building at once.
Go
big.
I'm trying
200 classrooms
trying to keep you safe. I'm giving you the swimmies. Justin wants you to just dive in. So I'm saying,
dive in, dude.
You do the offices with all the conference rooms. You can put all the conference rooms on one processor.
Those meetings aren't important anyway.
I think
we did our alumni building like this, all one system for the 3 stories, right? It's not a classroom environment, but boy, oh boy, we've been peeling that onion for about 10 years now.
And the C-suite conference rooms, all of them are on one processor.
Oh, there you go.
It's only 4. It's only 4.
Your administration building, the whole building.
Do the admin. I would say as
Do
a backup, they better all be able to have every feature controlled by a handheld remote control. Because that day is going to come.
Or an iPad.
And if you
throw the iPad
see
in
how
there,
courageous you really are.
Yeah, if you answer that question with hell yeah, then go get them, Tiger, because you're about to find a new job.
And we can be a reference when you need it.
I'm going to connect all my conference rooms, but only the dean's conference rooms. I'm going to connect all of those single processor for that. So that'll never be a problem. All right.
Nice.
Well, there you go, everybody. There's 11 things to avoid in your top 10 things to avoid in your next AV project. So
11
we're kind of all over
10.
the place. What?
We are 11 of 10.
We are 11 of 10.
We only turn
We're kind
up
of all
to
over the
11.
place there. It's a wide gamut, so it's just based on our experience, and I think we tried to provide an alternate in every one of those scenarios. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure that everybody listening right now is either doing or has done or is currently in the process of undoing one of those things, if not multiple of them. So take that advice for what it will. And as Jamie said, if you are doing one of these successfully and you want to yell at us, please do reach out, mailbag at avsuperfriends.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, reach out. We want to talk to you about why this is a success for you and why we're wrong.
And
we want
tell us why we're wrong.
I mean, we're not talking at you all here. I mean, for example, these are on the list because we've done this dumb shit. So, I mean,
I've not done 21 by 9.
Learn from our mistakes.
Well, somebody has somewhere. Mark,
somebody is right now. They're doing it.
No,
Mark, you're doing 21 by 9.
Wish
with
that
your
on
teams
me.
Rooms.
No.
I've got 2 students right now with all the projection screens taken out of our engineering building. They're stretching every one of them. So
when the bulk of my laptops come in the door
stretchers.
and the laptops are 21 by 9, I will then entertain it. But until that
Jimmy,
day,
go get my pixel stretcher.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we're going to talk about something. What are we talking about here?
Stuff.
I just
we are
scrolled my
talking
page.
about
last minute wish lists.
Oh, yes.
Wish list?
That's what happens when I
thought
scroll
we
my-
were doing something else.
No, these are the craziest requests we get from the department wish lists and all that stuff. So,
all
right, hold on to your butts. We'll be back in 42 seconds.
As many of you know, the Super Friends have always been better received when we have more input from you. So, here's your chance. Send us a note at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com and get involved with the show. We're looking for some topics to discuss, some fellow nerds to talk to, or just general AV awesomeness to brag about. But remember, we'll probably steal your ideas. And I suppose we'd take some criticism, but that wouldn't be very nice. Anyway, drop us a note at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com and find out how quickly we ask you to join this nonsense.
All right, Larry, I just looked on the notes here. I saw yours. I want to hear about this story. But all right, so it's end of year. It's end of fiscal year. All the departments are now kind of like, hey, we've got a little bit left over. Let's ask the IT guys to do some stuff.
What kind of crazy shit can
Mark,
they get
I think
done
this
for
was
us?
your suggestion, so I suspect you got some crazy requests. Like, how did you phrase this? What's the craziest request?
Yeah, because I think everybody goes through it. It's always somebody has the idea that, just as you mentioned, we can do this. And we'll just ask and see. They're not doing anything. It's the summer. They have to have plenty of time, right?
Just
so we all get this. And I know everybody listening to this show knows exactly what we're talking about. And so, you want me to just go with mine right here?
Yeah, go with yours since you're talking right now.
I'm not going to dig the craziest one, but this comes in often, or one like this, and I got one recently, was 1 week ago, right? We all know how far away from June 1 we are right now, right? Or June 30th at the very latest. That's how it always comes out. But was a remodel project with 5 new rooms, and we would like to have it completely done with all the money spent, everything received, installed, and finished before the end of the fiscal year. Mm-hmm. So, it's always such a cute ask, and I always we'll do the whole conversation, and when we get there, and I say, well, when do you want to have this done? And they're always, well, we're really hoping before the end of the fiscal year. And I always say, next fiscal year? because it's certainly not happening this year. But yeah, the ones that involve outside construction are always my favorite ones that come in the last minute because they're completely detached to process. And they think it's all about, can you just purchase this and we're good to go? And it's like, if only it were that easy. And I think society has led us to believe that as long as the Amazon truck can deliver it, we're good to go. But we all know it's a little more than that. So yeah, and four rooms, complete remodel with construction, all looking to be done in less than 6 weeks. Which, if you guys can do that, let's go.
I think
you can't. What the heck?
I don't scale up.
There's a mix of conference rooms and teaching and seminar rooms and all that stuff. So,
scale up.
They're all the same anyway.
Just make them all one system.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll just get one common backbone, run it all off one switch, and we're good to go.
I saw the deal on Amazon.
Exactly.
So I got a similar one. I'll keep this short. I got a similar one where the same sort of question. There's 2 active learning rooms. They are awful across the board. Now, they are awful not necessarily because of the technology, because of things like where things are positioned. There's no actual good teaching kind of like landing spot, because even in a full active learning space, you still want kind of a landing spot to drop your stuff and all that. There's the front wall has no writable surfaces. They're like, we put in interactive displays. It's the same. People hate it. So it's a space that needs some love, but it needs some love from a holistic standpoint, 2 spaces rather, not just the technology, not just fresh coat of paint, but we need to talk about how this room is laid out, how it's used, all that stuff. It comes up about once a year that this needs, and it starts that momentum every year in about February. In fact, this year I went back and looked and I was off by 2 days. It was like February 5th, and then this year was February like 7th. It's like every year it comes back up.
It was leap year this year, though.
They were off by a day. And they want to do it. And it's all right, here we go. And then it's crickets again. And then by the time it comes up again, it's like, hey, you know what? We've got the money. We've got the funds. We're going to do it this year. Oh, by the way, 2 changes. Don't do any of the construction stuff. Just do new technology. And we have we need it done by the end of the fiscal. And there's a camp. There's a 2-week-long camp in there starting in mid-June.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
there's going to be classes in there, Chris. We need this done.
And it's like these are unreasonable requests, and I get it. They're waiting for budget and all that stuff, but it's these same spaces that come up every year as far as the general timeline of how do we make this happen. And then they think, we'll just change out the technology. And the irony is the one thing in the space that is fine are generally the endpoints, the displays, the speakers, the projectors. That stuff is all fine and actually doesn't need to change. It's all the underlying infrastructure, but there's a lot of the physical layout of the space because it's one of those rooms that was designed very much by committee. And of course, when you design things by committee, by making everybody happy, nobody is happy.
Here is your Swiss Army knife. It's the only thing you need in your cabinet. That's all. It's the only thing you should have. Your whole toolbox should just be one Swiss Army knife.
Alrighty, Larry, what you got?
So I've gotten more this year than I have in any previous years. It's been wild. But the one that kind of surprised me yesterday, that kind of hit me out of the blue, was I got a call from a facilities PM guy who was like, hey, we're going to be replacing all the flooring in this classroom. Would you mind sending someone over to uninstall the entire instructor station, which this is one of our older spaces, so it has the old aircraft carrier instructor station, which oddly enough was on the replacement cycle for next year. So I don't have that new system built, but they want me to come send a team out today to uninstall that system because we don't have anything else to do, move it to the hall for a week, and then reinstall it the following week. Because
there's nothing else going on. It's summer.
No, and they want to spend their end of year fiscal money on new flooring.
Right.
So they didn't have any money to actually pay for me to do any of this.
So you'll do it out of the kindness of your heart, right?
Yeah.
Same team, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's same team, same university. And it just blew me away that, okay, obviously this was on somebody's radar that this might happen. If you gave me a heads up, I might be able to move money around and get that room planned.
Yep.
So I could uninstall it and then just reinstall it later in the year and be done. But no,
it's that kind of year. I had 5 of them last week, and I said, they said, well, we just need to remove. We're going to do ceiling.
Were they abatements? Abatements are like the bastard cousin of this whole thing. Yeah,
we're going to do ceilings and floors and everything. And can you move your stuff out? Okay, fine. That's easy enough. We'll take them out after commencement. Okay, but abatement's here Tuesday morning.
It's all, where is their project? I'm channeling into Don DeMello. How did they obviously didn't just know them this wake up this morning and figure out and coordinate all this shit? Like you knew this was happening. Where the hell were you at?
New floors. Yeah,
and
show up.
Yeah, we're gonna grind everything down. Don't worry about it. And so Monday, I've got 7 systems to take out and store. And when I asked him, to Larry's point, when I asked him, do we get to charge labor on this?
Labor?
We're all on the same team, Jamie. Come on.
I'm like, you're going to owe me one later because I'm going to call you with I need 17 outlets today.
And outlets and conduit in these walls. Brick walls. I need it by tomorrow morning.
So you write me the IOU now because I'll do it.
I want it on a golden ticket. I want my Wonka get out of jail.
Get that in writing, Jamie, because that PM's going to leave and
Yeah.
take a job somewhere else. And you're
Well,
gonna
it's just so. But Larry, I
get his address.
I don't know what it is this year, but samesies.
Yep.
So I do want to relate quickly. I got one of these requests about a year ago, and the request didn't come in as we want to do the following. It was we've already taken down your stuff to repaint the room. Can you come back and put it back up because classes start next week? And it was a whole thing. So not only did, to Jamie, to your point, they planned this out. They knew about this long in advance, and they had somebody else take all our stuff down. So luckily, I just went to the register at that point, took the room offline for the semester, and we're like, no, we'll get to it later. But we have classes starting next week. We are wall to wall right now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Justin, what kind of crazy thing have you gotten?
Amaze us with your stories.
We got some weird stuff. I'm going to make these. I got 3 things, I think. They're going to make them real short.
Pick the best one.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. So, you've heard this one before, but the business college got hired out, to a consultant to design.
This is the one you're supporting, right? This is the one you're going to be supporting next year?
We're not going to support it.
Nope, we got a bet going.
But at the same time, with that conversation, because we're not, whatever reason, we can't handle the business college. It's classroom stuff. It's really advanced things, right? College. Can't handle it. I don't know what the reason is, but we're at the same time designing the new football audio press box and esports and forensics and baseball field house and indoor football
Forensic
field
and baseball field house. That sounds awesome.
That's a
crap,
cool one.
and it's one project. I'm like, well, that's interesting that we're doing that, but okay. So then we have this other issue that just popped up where we built a new dorm. I don't know if I'm even supposed to be talking about it, but there's articles out there in the public about it, so it's okay for me to mention that.
Gloss over.
The dorm's fallen apart for various reasons. It's 2 years old, and we got a ticket saying that we have to move all the TVs out of this dorm and relocate them to the other old dorms while they reconstruct this new dorm. I'm like, what a waste of labor, but I get it. And the other weird thing, we're talking about last minute requests that happen at the fiscal year. So I guess 6 to 8 months ago at the university, everybody's kind of just stopped spending. We're like watching money.
Bank accounts were empty.
We don't have a lot of projects. So what I'm assuming is everybody's working out the money situation right now. The word on the street is they're figuring out they do have money. I don't know if this bean wasn't in the right bean counter over here and something. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I'm assuming that we're going to get a lot of requests July.
Oh, you're waiting.
2nd.
Oh, you think it's like as soon as new fiscal ticks over, you're going to get this done before fall kind of stuff.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I don't have any stories, but let's revisit this discussion, and I might have some wild ass shit.
You're going to be coming in
you.
hot in the next couple of weeks. I got you.
Oh my God, July is going to be nuts. But we'll see. I don't know.
I will say that I've had a couple of these conversations. They come up every year that somebody wants to do something. They've got 3 weeks to do it, sort of thing. And after they get the cold water thrown on them and the reality of timing and how things work in the process, I've had some come back a year later, not a year later, but that next fiscal year, and they come back in January or February for summer, and they are all planned out and they've got it done and it works much more smoothly and they're very happy with it. And I had 2 deans at the Board of Trustees this week talk about how much better their IT systems are after working with IT on the deliberate process, and now they understand it, et cetera, et cetera. So there is some potential there for success and some learning on these. It's not everybody, and almost all of them have to go through it once the wrong way for it to work in the proper way. So there is hope out there, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Don't let a good catastrophe go to waste.
It'll fix itself.
Make it an opportunity for next year. Sort of thing.
Just sit back. It'll fix itself. Don't worry.
It'll burn off.
I'm not comfortable with that.
You're going to be supporting it anyway, Justin.
Probably need to be proactive.
your phone's ringing.
Not without a project first.
And an account string, too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Those who make requests, but they don't pay for it. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks all. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV SuperFriends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.